Hello everybody, this is Kira's show here. Now then, whenever we last left off, Deku, he had just heard that they are going to be doing the, essentially initiation. And this will be the hardest part, since they're basically told that they are going to be out there alone with no help or support. So things are going to be very challenging. Now, Deku, he is told by the Space Marines that all the male initiates are to head to this sector of the ship, which they would have listened. Deku following every one of his brothers, and them all heading to the section, as they are divided into different groups, which are then jettisoned down to the planets, as Kirishima and Momo are watching. These two are actually very worried. They're not able to take part in this challenge today. And if it fails, this might be the last time they see their brother. Now, Momo and Kirishima, they would be watching this through the glass, as they just give Deku a nod. And Deku, he would just stare at them. He would put his hand in the glass, showing that he will be back. And it will not take very long. It may be a year's worth of time, but he will return. As these two would somewhat start tearing up quite a bit. A lot of the initiates are, because they're realizing that if this goes wrong, this may be the last time they see the chapter. As Deku would step into his pod. He would then be jettisoned down to the planet, as he would smash into the ground, and his pod would slide across it. And he would hear rushing water. Now, he would get out of his pod, finding that he probably hit... As he tries to think, his pod is still moving forward, so this is bad. But let's see. As he looks upwards towards a mountainside, there is a fallen tree, so he's guessing he hit that and sent him into the water. Good to know. Now, Deku, he would immediately get to work. The only thing he has on him is his pendants. And he would just hop out of the ship and start swimming to shore. As he would get there, he begins to immediately just try to look around. He needs to make a camp or at least find some running water that is drinkable. He would actually check the water he just landed in. Salt. So not viable. Now, Deku would begin to run around, looking through and finding different places that he has not really seen. They are on another planet, so he has to be even more careful. Not knowing any of the life or knowing anything, it could get you killed. So you really have to be on your toes. Now, Deku, he is just being patient. He is walking around, trying to conserve most energy, only running if he ever thinks he really needs to. If he hears running water, he will run to the source, and if he thinks he hears a predator, he will climb up high, getting out of view, doing whatever he can to basically stay camouflaged, as you can call it. Now, everyone on the ship, they are watching this. As the Sisters of Battle would just tell the young candidates that they are ready for their portion. The training will be even harder, but we'll be heading back to Earth. You all will take part in a different trial. As the sisters would leave, taking the candidates with them. The Marines basically being left on the ship alone, which they have not been for a while. It's somewhat quiet and actually a little bit peaceful, as every Marine would begin to help work on this little project. If it's about the quirks and everything, they need to either find a way to get rid of the quirks, then try and deal with the problem on a mass scale. But from initial testing and looking through different things, even if they get rid of the quirks, some of the mutations may remain. So while they work on that, they will need to focus, as they will be working on that for the next year. Now, back onto the planets. Deku, he is still looking around for a source of water, as he would eventually come to a cave. He can hear water dripping, so there's got to be something in there. He would be careful, however, picking up a stick and a rock. Being careful with both of them. The stick has somewhat of a natural point, so if he needs to, he can stab it into the creature if there is one. But if there isn't, then he should have a better time. Deku would walk in, finding that this place is empty, and it's actually barren. But he can hear what sounds like bats. So exactly where are they? As he would hear one more. And he would see that there's liquid dripping from the ceiling. As he would turn his attention upwards. Seeing that that's not water. That's saliva. These things are directly hanging over Deku's head. And he has effectively just walked into a nest. So, Deku, he is in trouble. He would begin to slowly back away, as he would get out, thinking that if he needs to, he can use them for hunt, or at least try and pick them off while they sleep. That's a very bad idea, though. As Deku would get to work on something. If the bats may be his only viable food source, then it would work. Now, Deku's not really sure of it though, since these things are huge. They look to be almost as big as a human, which made them even creepier and scarier. Deku, he would have walked over to a tree and start climbing upwards. He gets high enough to where he is able to not even see the ground, able to look out overhead to see exactly what's going on. He can see fire in a lot of different directions, guessing that that's everyone else's landing pods, so they're all closer than he thought. I'm guessing they want us joined up together then. If they're putting the beacon on the other side of the planet, then it makes sense. The closer we are, the more you don't favor someone. As Deku thinks on this, Deku, he would actually fall asleep. He kinda wasn't paying attention since he's not really wearing his pain suit. They literally went out with the bare minimums. Clothes on your back, and he was lucky enough to keep his necklace. Now, with that, let us cut to about 2 to 3 months later. Deku, he is doing better. He has actually gotten a actual place somewhat set up, along with somewhat being able to keep the bats in line. He's able to set up a defense in the cave to a point where he's able to control most of it. The bats he will allow out at night, but during the day he will close the cave off, as to keep them hidden. Not only is he able to use them as a food source, but actually a way of defending himself. He sleeps in a part of the cave that they essentially do not have access to. They are too big to climb into this portion, which he has actually tried to hollow out more, being somewhat successful, making it big enough for Deku to somewhat laid backwards, or at least laid down. Him using pelts to actually keep himself warm. This is something Deku, he really hasn't really thought about. He's been able to be safe, be able to be warm, and actually enjoy something. Along with, it's also been forever since he's been injured. It's actually quite enjoyable. As we'll cut to the full year later. Deku, he has been able to successfully do all this. As there's a loud sound. Deku, he would look up. Everyone on the planet is. This is the only sound to break the natural barrier that they have somewhat gotten accustomed to. The sound of tree, the sound of leaves, and the sound of predators and prey. Along with the winds, the rain, and the hot summer. So, exactly what is going on now? Deku making his way over. He's been able to somewhat get this wingsuit idea of his off the ground, actually. No pun intended. However, it did take a lot of time, since he basically did have to use bad skin to basically make up for what he can't get, or create naturally. He has had many plans on how to get there. One even involving taming and riding an actual bat, which would be metal as hell. And one entrance, but from his attempt to try and get one's trust, he found that it really doesn't care, since he once threw raw meat in the cave. As soon as the bats smelled the blood, they all started to pounce on it and actually try and start ripping each other apart, which he would have seen as something that's not easy to control, since they would not have stopped. They would have been like this for hours upon hours on end. Until there was finally only one trying to get the meat left. Enjoying the meal. Now, Deku, he would be going in this direction. Someone wearing this bat suit. Or, well, the bat pelt. As he would have arrived, seeing quite a lot of his old friends. They all do seem different. They were isolating themselves and keeping themselves apart. Because if they do encounter each other, they do not want to have to fight. This part, however, it is different. As a booming voice can be heard coming from this device, saying that the time has passed. Make it to this location, and you will be ready. You will earn the rank of initiate and get your first implants. Now, come, brothers. This is where your journey begins. As they would have heard the signal ping. Everyone's swarming forward and trying to get one of these devices for themselves. They're all fighting and trying to get to them. As Deku would have rushed forward too. He's swinging the dull end of his stick, trying to get close enough. Smacking it into quite a lot of people and actually knocking out two. Whenever he does get close enough, he's able to grab one from someone's hand, ripping away from them and actually kicking off, turning and actually starting to run off. His speed has actually increased significantly. He's been keeping up on his training and actually trying to push himself more. So, has everyone else been doing the same? As Deku would feel something on both sides. He would turn his eyes to see that there are two people after him. So, they're not just going to get the Cuppets themselves, they want to take down the ones who are able to actually keep up with them. Tricky tactic, but actually useful. Deku, seeing as one of the figures actually does dart to the right, immediately coming at him with somewhat of a stick. Deku would have immediately somewhat stopped in his tracks, as these two go running forward, smashing into each other, jabbing each other into their sides, actually messing them up quite a bit. Deku, watching as the two try and get back up, he would knock them down, as they would all start running. This is basically a race to see who can do what. And they're actually heading straight for Deku's cave. So as long as no one knows where his hiding place is, this will be perfectly fine. So, they would eventually make their way up a mountain. Deku, he still has his pelt on, meaning there are people watching him, as he basically stops at the cliff edge and turns around. They all think that he is the biggest challenge. Him and a few others, so if they're able to take him down, they stand a chance. They don't want to kill him though. That was specifically against the rules. But that won't stop them from at least taking him out. Now, this is where Deku would have done one thing, pulling the pelt overhead as he would drop it to the ground. Then watching as Deku's arms and his legs are covered in something. He would be backing up, as they watch him back completely up to the cliffside. Deku saying that he's sorry, but, well, you know how this goes. As one of them realizes exactly what he's doing, throwing a knife out forward. Deku being able to dodge it, putting his right leg backwards, as he would have been falling off the cliff. They would watch as Deku, he's falling on his back. He would have turned around, immediately feeling the force of air underneath his wings, and flying upwards. As he begins to actually start making his way and fly in that direction. With this bat suit, he will not need to stop. So, he just needs to keep flapping his arms, like a bat does. It was a challenge at first, but he's actually been able to get himself used to this. The strain on his body has gotten better. Now then, Deku, he would be one of the first to arrive. As whenever he does, he was told that he is the first one, and that he should feel honored, as he is told that he will be going up against a space marine. You arrived far sooner than we expected, so this will be your challenge, brother. To which Deku's panicking. He thought he was going to fight someone else, but he's fighting a space marine? No. Crap. As the marine would have been stripped of his armor, Deku actually being handed a gun, saying that this will be the only weapon he gets. They are going to be fighting and exactly see how this happens. However, your battle will be different. If you are able to defeat the Space Marine, you will promptly belong among the legends. It is possible, so do not think that this is an impossible task, child. Deku trying to think of a way to kill, well, not kill, but at least take him down. The only ways he can think of involve killing, and that's not a good idea. Shit. Deku basically panicking, as he's holding this gun in his hands. The Marine rushing forward. Deku would dodge out of the way, as he would bring the gun up, thinking that he needs to fire now. No, that's... shit. Not gonna work. As Deku, he would continue fighting. He's basically dodging and actually using somewhat of a superior speed to outpace the Marine. The Marine basically being able to try and get close, but Deku would be able to keep his distance. The Marine is a lot faster without his armor, but Deku, he's able to react faster too. Or at least he thinks. He thinks his implants are special. So this is the only thing stopping him from breaking down. So, he needs to hurry. As he would finally hold the gun outwards, As the Marine charges forward, Deku would begin to fire at him. The Marine basically taking and actually absorbing these bullets, as anytime Deku sees a hole form in him, it would immediately heal over and scar. The Marine rushing forward and actually grabbing Deku by the arms. The Marine not snapping them, but at least grabbing Deku, throwing him over his shoulder, and smashing him into the ground. As Deku can feel his pain. He knows that he's lost, so exactly what does that mean for him? As the Marine would have told him to get back up. You have passed. What? Listen, brother. This is quite a simple challenge. Just because I win, does not mean you fail. This task is very difficult to accomplish. Even those that do, they find it to be the hardest thing ever. You basically have to be on par with a Space Marine. Even then, your task was not to defeat me. Outlast me, however, it was. So, you and the rest that follow will all be placed in a gladiatory combat, seeing exactly who will win. Whoever wins, they will be the initiates, and will get their first implants. The challenge will be hard, brother, but do understand, you have passed this test. Deku actually somewhat being overcome with joy. He's been able to pass, but he thought, he's looking at this all wrong. Shit. He improved physically, but he hasn't improved mentally. He's still stuck on those tactics and ways of thinking. How is this going to work? He needs to improve his mind before he thinks about this tactic again. Now, that is going to be where I leave this part off of, guys. I do hope you guys enjoyed the video and have an amazing day. This is Kirsho signing off.